So then you have a lot of people that are doing their 10 things they're grateful for.
Mm.
They're doing their I am statements. They're doing meditation or journaling. Like doing a journal brain dump of all the negative things in your life is not going to help you. Like it's just, I
That
get it. Like I'm
feels
a verbal
gross.
talk. Well,
Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. Today we're going to dive into gratitude because why not? We were talking a little bit about gratitude at the end of our podcast last time, and we just felt like it was a good idea to continue down that path because there was so much more we could have said. So, in case we haven't met, my name is Karen.
my name is Ashley. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about gratitude. And I think a lot of people right now, and I think over the last like decade, have been really talking a lot about gratitude and like gratefulness and all that kind of stuff. And I think that it's a great topic, really.
Yeah. One thing that I always harp on Dr. Joe, but I can't help it because he's my mentor. But he his the one of the biggest things that he says all the time is gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. So if
Mhm.
you want to receive, ooh, I got big chills just saying that right
Mhm.
now. If you want to receive in your life, if you're like, hey, listen, universe, I want to create XYZ in my life. I'm here right now, but I want to be there and I just want to create something truly amazing. Get
Mhm.
yourself grateful as fast as you can.
Mhm.
Grateful for anything and everything. Grateful for the current situation that you're in. This was really difficult for me to get to. But when I finally got to this place of truly healing from this state of lack, when I stepped out of that state of lack and started going, you know what, I'm actually really grateful for all the tough things, for all the good things, for all the everything in between. When I could actually start doing that is when I could see that things in my life were changing. People were changing around me. I was changing inside. I stopped focusing on all of the crap that I didn't like, and I started to focus on all the things that I did like. So, one thing, this will always stick with me, and I've been talking about this a couple times with my husband, Matthew, but um, we talk about Kevin Trudeau a lot on this podcast. And one of the things that someone asked him on his Your Wish is Your Command podcast, there was a question and answer session at the end. And somebody asked them, okay, so the economy is crazy right now. Like, what do you have to be grateful for when you're literally struggling to make ends meet? And one thing that Kevin Trudeau said that just will always stick with me, he said that he had a friend who he had a multi-million dollar business, I don't know, and somebody asked him almost the same question, like, what are you going to do with all the taxes and your money and blah blah blah? And this guy's answer was awesome. He was like, when it comes to the economy and what's going on negatively, I choose not to participate. I choose
Mhm.
not to participate. I choose not to get sucked into the conversations about how hard it is. I choose not to worry about how much taxes are affecting me. I choose not to participate in that feeling. And
Yeah.
so at any minute, we can choose not to participate in a negative feeling. We can choose, I don't really want to be there. I don't really want to feel that way. I choose not to participate, to be sucked into this worry about what's going to happen to my business and what's going on with the economy.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. And like we mentioned this like briefly before we started, like there's a lot going on in our current economy right now. And like I don't know, as Canadians, we're boycotting American products.
Yeah.
And that is a reaction to Trump's now delayed tariffs. And for me, like I have a lot of people that are like posting about it, asking people what they're doing. And for me, I'm like, I'm not participating in this.
Mhm.
Like, I view humanity as a whole.
Mhm.
And so I don't care who I'm helping and where I'm helping. If I am going to put energy into anything, it's going to be like stopping my purchases on Amazon because like I'm just feeding the ultra rich, or like not going to Walmart. I don't really care if I'm supporting a farmer that is in the United States or Japan or Canada. I just care that I'd rather help the average person than the ultra rich person kind of
Mhm.
thing. But I'm just like, I'm not participating in this. And I think that when you have that mindset, and I've talked about this a little bit too with one of Tim Ferriss's books that I recently started reading, Tools of Titans, I believe it's called. There's one guy that he has on his podcast and talks about in his book as well that had his home, like he lived in a van and he had his home stolen from him. And we were like, oh my gosh, how unfortunate. And he's like, no, like I was thinking about being a nomad. So now I'm a nomad. And it just helped me make my decision for
Yeah.
me. And he was grateful for it.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's like, where can I find the gratitude in this? Or my daughter the other day, she's like, oh, like there's going to be an assembly today and I don't like it. I don't want to go. I'm like, well, what could you like about it? Like, what might you like about it? And like, we can always easily find things that we don't like. But when we start to find things that we do like, it it helps us in two ways. One, it raises our vibration, so we're attracting more of those good things, and it makes like the current climate, we're untouchable in it,
Mhm.
right? Like
Exactly.
and then two, we have way more fun, Like if you're like, where's the good in this instead of where's the bad in this, it makes everything more happy and everything more blissful and everything more present. And even if you're going through shit, you're enjoying your life more.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I mean to kind of go back to like the economy of things like between Canada and United States, the thing that I think is so important that I remind myself constantly, because I mean, Mr. Trump has decided to like put all these tariffs on, right? And I have no idea what the good will come of it, but I also know that there's a reason. And I don't have a problem going, yeah, there's a reason and everything, and I just have to be patient for it. Like I
yeah.
don't know if it's going to end up being the most amazing thing ever eventually or what. Like or maybe it's just going to be like schmeh at the end of the day. But I
Mhm.
as you said, I would rather focus on the positive. One of the big positives that he did do was he kept TikTok around for us. I mean, he was the catalyst in the beginning that actually caused all the TikTok drama, but who's noticing that anyways? But I mean, that's the thing that he so far that I'm like, okay, that was a big reason. If Biden was still here, it probably would have gone to the wayside completely. We would have
Yeah.
lost TikTok. But we didn't because Trump decided, wait a minute, I actually do like this platform. So
Mhm.
we never know what the future has to hold. And even if TikTok, and I said this on a previous episode too, even if TikTok was to go away, I already know that there's something better for me. There's a
Mhm.
reason, like you said, this guy lost his home and now he gets to be a nomad. He gets to be a nomad, right?
Yeah.
Like, hello, like there's always stuff that we don't know that's happening behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Like honestly, I was thinking about this morning, and it's crazy that we're talking about this. I'm super grateful that there were times in my business that it didn't take off. I'm super grateful for it because I think about all the things that I would have had to do had that business taken off, and I don't think I want to do them. I
Mhm.
think in my intelligence, my consciousness knew that
Mhm.
if this takes off, this is where you're going to be, and this is actually not what you're looking to create. For me, I only want money because I want freedom, ultimate freedom to do as I please and to help who I please, basically. And
Yeah.
I see money just as a tool to be able to do that, right? So, but if I am constantly chained to a desk, that's not freedom. If I'm constantly chained to doing certain things in my business, that's not freedom and that's not what I'm looking to do, right? But I look at what I'm doing now in my business and I'm like, God damn, this is the freedom I wanted. Because
Yeah.
I literally get to play on social media. I love playing on social media. I love creating content. I don't know. I've always been a really creative person, and I currently have a video that's going bananas right now. And it is truly the epitome of my creativity because I literally was like, we're going to do this. I roped my husband in,
Mhm.
and he was like, okay, like he was totally for it, right? But it allows me to have that creativity. I couldn't be, I'm going to use the word unprofessional because there's a lot of things that I'm doing now on my TikTok that I would have never done on my previous TikToks, because my previous TikToks were all about how to teach somebody how to grow on social media, how to do online marketing. There's more of a professionalism to it. These TikToks now, I just get to be a complete weirdo, which is my favorite. That to me is freedom. I get
Yeah.
to be a weirdo. I get to do what I want to do. And I truly believe in my infinite wisdom. I
Mhm.
knew back then that if this takes off, I'm not going to want to do this at a certain point. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to want to keep going in this direction. And I truly believe that's why I like fully decided to walk away from my business partners. What is that, a year ago? Yeah, it's been a year. Holy shit. It's literally been a year. But I think that's a big reason that I walked away, because I couldn't have put this to words back then, but I didn't feel the freedom that I wanted to feel. And I just was like, this isn't for me either. I just want to be free. I just want to be a crazy person and make money for it.
Completely. And I've never thought about that either, but I can see that too in my businesses. Like
Mm,
I took off to a certain extent and then lost it.
mm-hmm.
Um and if I had taken off to the full extent that I wanted to, and I believe I was capable of, if I
100%.
had lost it, it would have been so much different.
Mm-hmm.
Like my path would have been so much different. My people around me would have been so much different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can acknowledge that for my life too. And then too with like the bad things happen for a reason, and they're often good reasons. And we've
Yeah.
talked about this lots and lots and lots, like the guy losing his van. And there's so many things in my life where I'm like, fuck, like this sucks. Like, how is this happening right now? And then weeks later, days later, years later, I'm like, okay,
That's why.
that was meant to be. That had to happen. And or not maybe had to happen, but like even like where I live now, like um the situation of me living in this place felt like shit. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
not ideal. Um, but this place couldn't be better. Like we literally hit the jackpot. And people are envious of our location
Mm-hmm.
and like our yard and all this kind of stuff. And it just worked out perfectly. But it did not feel good when it all
Yeah.
started going down. Um,
Hell,
and
I'm envious of your location because your kids can walk to school. Hello, like that's huge. As a kid, I would have loved that because it would have meant that I could have had more time with friends, you know? Like that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there's so many benefits to us being here over anywhere else. And yeah, it's great. And I also think like how you're talking about with like Trump, how there's going to be bad and good that go together.
Hmm.
I think along the same lines, I think that the tariffs right now seem really bad. But for me personally, I've heard a couple people talk about it, and I'm not a big politics person,
Yeah, me either.
so I don't really dive in too much. To my understanding, they've already been postponed and paused. So to me, I think it was more of a strategic tactic, to get Trudeau to play ball because Trudeau is a
Yeah.
meathead.
Yeah. Honestly,
So
that's probably what he was doing. He's not a stupid guy. Like I will give this to him. He's very strategic. If you
yeah,
want to know how strategy works, you study that man because I definitely know he's
yeah,
real good at that. So, yeah,
yeah.
100%.
And so that's personally how I feel is that like it put Trudeau in a vice.
Yeah.
And um I think that that's probably best. I know Trudeau has resigned and he's on his way out, but to make progress right now before he's gone, I think Trump needed to do that.
Mm,
I also truly believe we are going to hit a recession, and I think this recession is going to be really hard for a lot of people. but I also think we need it for deflation.
Mm.
Like the world that we live in right now is so inflated.
I know it's
It
bad.
is unbelievably hard.
Mm.
Um, like especially for like our generation and generations coming up behind us, like
Mm.
housing, like especially where I live, is ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
our
Canada is
housing is one of the
crazy.
worst in North America. Like,
Yeah.
because it would be like equivalent to like California for you
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And California at least makes sense.
I
Like
know.
where
I
I live, it
know.
doesn't make sense.
It's
And
crazy.
so I think that we're going to need to see a deflation in the housing market, deflation in most things. And I think recessions always bring things down.
Hmm.
And I think my prediction is that this next recession is going to deflate things permanently. Like the 2007 deflation or
Hmm.
recession brought things down, but then things
Went
bounced
back
right
up.
back up.
Hmm.
And I think because of how much our society and things are changing, I also think Trump will play a role in this. And I think us getting the liberals out will play a role in this, where the deflation will happen because of a recession and it will happen permanently.
Hmm.
Because like the above average people are struggling.
Yeah.
It's not
Oh yeah.
just the low income people anymore, it's
Oh
the
yeah.
above average people are struggling.
Oh yeah.
And so when you have that, there needs to be a reset. And I think that will happen. And so for me, being that of my belief system and my predictions, I'm like, keep going with the tariffs, keep going with the things, all that kind of stuff, because I believe this is the darkness to the means that we need. I
Mm.
I truly believe that there's going to be a downfall, and I talk about that lots. I think that there's going to be a massive reset, and it's going to be for the average Joe, not for the elite. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who knows what everything's gonna bring, but yeah, I do agree. There's got to be a reset. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know something's starting right now. I'm sorry, I had to go to Little Mermaid, but but I mean,
and it's singing in my head too, so thank you.
I had to. I'm sorry. I told you I was a creative person. There's always some sort of song in my head at all times.
Love it so much.
So, but I mean, to kind of go back to like with the whole gratitude of it, I do think that our goal as a society needs to get into that place of gratitude because it will make the reset a whole lot better if we all do. Like that's the thing that I think that's the thing that the word worry is not the right word, but it bothers me that there aren't more people that understand that your thoughts are things and your thoughts and your feelings are what create. And so I want more people to understand that we are going through this reset. It's coming. Who
Yeah.
knows when? But we as a society, as a culture, as a world can make it better by
Yeah.
how we think and how we feel. Because those thoughts are things. Like, I'm going to go back to Dr. Joe again. Sorry. But I mean, just the thought, he says this, just the thought of waking up in the morning and going to the toilet brings you there. Right? I mean, I think about this all the time. After he said that, I was like, oh, he's kind of a genius with that. How many times have I had to go to the bathroom really bad, but I know I can't go right now? I have to wait. But once I get to the bathroom, it's like I'm literally about to explode, right? Like I know it's almost there. And it's like that thought of I'm in the bathroom just a few more seconds and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? Like, but before, like 20 minutes ago, you could hold it. Like you were exploding, but you could hold it, right? It's the thought that creates at the end
Mhm.
of the day. And we can create whatever we want just by the thinking and the feeling. And I had a moment this morning where I'm in a group of people that are doing TikTok shop together. Somebody was like, he wasn't bragging. He was just like, oh my God, I'm so excited this happened for me. And it was really good money that he was bringing in. And he did a screenshot. And I was like, ah, damn, it hasn't happened for me. But I caught it and I went, uh-uh. I ain't doing that. I was like, isn't it great? And this is what I say every time I feel a jealousy bone pop up or a comparison bone pop up. Isn't it great that I know what I want to create for my life? And isn't it great that they did that for themselves? That instantly makes me go, oh, yeah. It is great that I know what I want to create. It is great that I can do that as well. It's great also that they did that. And
Mhm.
that thought is going to bring me into a feeling of gratitude.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I was comparing myself and feeling down on myself. Why hasn't it happened for me? That's a lack feeling. Who wants to feel like that when you can go, wait a minute, I can do that too. And I'm already
Yeah.
grateful for what I've already created. That's
Mhm.
how so much more comes your way. That's how you receive.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to remember, no matter what you're going through, is that there's always something that you can feel grateful for. Um, and yeah, I definitely agree with you that having people have more awareness around that is going to
Mm,
make this whole situation so much better. And I think too, like kind of what we were talking about on our last podcast about how people have been able to find income
mm,
through their passion, like Tiffany,
mm.
our guest on our last show. I think more people are going to have to figure that out because they're going to have to figure that out for financial reasons.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be creative in how they make money. And then too, we're going to have more joy in the world because more people are doing their passion. More people are doing what they're skilled at. And we don't need as many people running our systems. And I think like here, I know there's lots of people that have been getting laid off already. And I think there's going to be a lot more to follow. And people are going to need to get creative and be passionate and figure out ways to do it. Um, we also have the AI world coming in, and AI is capable of replacing a lot of jobs. And so it truly is going to be working in a way that you're passionate, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's the passion for it all is what to me is fascinating because I look at my job and as you were talking about this, I think about all the people that end up in the hospital, end up needing surgery because they don't have passion in their life, because they're not loving what they're doing. I mean, to me, the reason that somebody ends up in the hospital is because there's some sort of passion that's been lost. They're not loving their life anymore. They're stressed out. They're sucked into um, the illusion that is this 3D reality, right? So when we get sucked into those things and we are sucked into a level of feeling stressed about it, that's when we create disease at the end of the day. I've been looking at myself at this recently, and I was having this conversation with my husband. Was it last night or the night before? One thing that I know I got to get a handle on, and I still haven't quite figured out what's the new thought I need to think. But what happens for me sometimes whenever I'm creating a piece of content for social media, I get really sucked in to looking at in a research way. Like I'm not talking about like the scroll hole of looking at other people's content. I'm talking about looking at people's content in such a way that you're researching and you're figuring out why did that work for them. I love that. I don't know why. I think it has to do with human psychology. I like to figure out what makes people tick when it comes to creating content. Like, I don't know. It gets me going. I get excited. But what happens is I will do it for hours and then I will realize, oh shit, I just wasted air quote because I never look at it as wasted, but I have spent way too much time on this and I don't have time to create the content that I want to create. And so then I start getting into this illusion, sucked into the illusion of time, right? I don't have enough time. I got to hurry up. That I got to hurry up steals my passion for what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
hate that feeling. And that's the one feeling that I'm like, I gotta get on top of this more because what happens when I get into that state of I gotta hurry up, I find myself waking up at 3 a.m. and my body's in a panic.
Mhm.
because during the day I've been practicing, I got to hurry up. And
Hmm.
so I don't want to do that anymore, right? And so there's a few things that I have been doing to help myself. Um, but that for me, I know I've talked about this before. That for me has stolen my joy. Has I've allowed it to. That's a better way to say it. I've allowed it to steal my gratitude, my joy, my passion for what I'm doing, right? And so for me, I'm like, okay, I got to get a new thought in there. I got to notice when I start feeling that way, I got to stop it and I got to put a new thought in there because that's the only way to create change. And so
Hmm.
I don't know. This is an ongoing process, right? But I say all of that because I hope to spark in somebody that realization of maybe your situation is different than mine, but maybe there is something to what I'm saying that is like, ooh, I do that in this situation.
Hmm.
I am thinking blah, 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 and it's making me feel hurried or whatever, anxious. And
Hmm.
that kind of thought is what creates disease, right?
Yeah,
You're literally in this thinking, feeling loop of hurry up, anxious, blah, blah, blah. I got to do this, you know? And that is what causes more people to be in the hospital, right? So I truly believe that if more people rested in their passions, allowed time to be time, allowed their environment to be their environment, allowed their body to be their body, their everything, all of that, just allowing it, we would have a whole lot less need for people like me. And
hmm,
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about my job. I think that would be wonderful if more people realize that they just need more passion and more zest and more love for what they're doing without feeling like they were under some sort of constraint from someone, something, some time, or anything around us.
for sure. And like the building blocks to passion is gratitude.
Mm,
The building blocks of being present and able to be in your present moment is gratitude. Like it all stems from there, like being grateful for what you have, knowing that there's more to come, but grateful for what you have as like a bare minimum. That's where everything stems. Because if you can't be grateful in your current place, how do you then get passionate? Like if you can't even muster up gratitude, how can you be passionate about anything? So, yeah, I definitely think that's the building block, and that the gratitude will last you through any recession, any job loss, any financial trouble, any business trouble, anything there is. Yeah.
yeah. And it's a process. Like, I think that's
Mhm.
important. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to wake up in the morning and realize, wait, I haven't been grateful for what I have around me. The moment that you notice that though is when that's when game on happens because then you can actually change it.
Mhm.
Instead of like this is what I used to do. I would wake up and feel a certain way that was a very limited emotion. And then I would try to do I am affirmations. And then I would continue to feel that limited emotion. And then I would do I am affirmations. And it was just this nasty cycle. And there was a big reason that I didn't change because just doing the I am affirmation did not actually change how I thought or how I felt. I had to
Yeah.
change in the moment when it was happening. I had to
Mhm.
notice. That noticing is what creates that freedom. Because when you notice that you're acting a certain way and then you decide in that moment to do something different, that's when the neural networks in your brain start to kind of prune apart and they start to go, oh, we don't have to act that way anymore. The more you keep doing it, the more pruning happens. And eventually you're going to create circuits in your brain that are focusing on gratitude. They're focusing on passion. They're focusing on joy, love, all these elevated emotions instead of getting stuck in these limited emotions of why hasn't this happened for me? Some sort of lack, some sort of frustration, some sort of overwhelm, some sort of stress that's
Mhm.
around us, right? So it's a process, and it's okay to wake up and go, wait, I've been not doing the thing. It's time
Mhm.
to make a change, right? You can change at any minute.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's the big thing is um when you do I am statements, I think they're great and I think they're important. And I've done them a lot over the last however many years of my life. Um, but it's not rewiring your brain the same way
It's not.
because it's not actionable,
Hmm.
right? It becomes actionable when the thought that you don't want comes up
Hmm.
and you cancel it and
Exactly.
you bring it back and you change it into that I am statement that you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you can do your I am statements 3, 10 times a day, but I don't believe, and I don't know if I've ever read anything that says this is true or not true, but I personally don't believe you doing your I am statements is rewiring your brain.
It's not.
Like it's
Yeah.
actionable,
Yeah.
and there are ways to make it actionable. Like I've talked about Dr. Caroline Leaf, and then you do Dr. Joe
Mhm.
Dispenza, and so there are places that through a certain type of journaling, which is Dr. Caroline Leaf, or through a certain type of meditation, you can actively rewire your brain.
Mm.
But just doing an I am statement isn't going to do that. And so you're going to have the exact same habit patterns until you start actively rewiring that. And
Exactly.
like while journaling and meditating are great tools to help that, um, the most effective way is in the moment.
Hmm.
It's also the hardest way too. And if you never learn how to do it in the moment, you're never going to be able to have lasting change with meditation or journaling, even when it's done properly. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like there's a lot of different kinds of journaling, there's a lot of different kinds of meditating, and not all of them are going to help you rewire your brain actively. Like it's not. So then you have a lot of people that are doing their 10 things they're grateful for.
Mm.
They're doing their I am statements. They're doing meditation or journaling. Like doing a journal brain dump of all the negative things in your life is not going to help you. Like it's just, I
That
get it. Like I'm
feels
a verbal
gross.
processor. Well, yeah, I'm a verbal processor, so I understand the allure of it, but it's never going to actually benefit your brain and how it's wired.
Mm.
It's never going to change that. And so um I've had so many people say to me like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this," and nothing's changing.
Right.
And it's because when it's hard and you have something bad happen to you, you're so trained to fixate on that and not
Yep.
to transmute it.
Yep.
Um, and then there's the, like I said, like there's a lot of things that you can do. Like you can have the best fucking morning routine,
Hmm.
but you're not actively changing your brain.
Exactly.
So you can do all the I am statements, all the gratitude lists, 100 grateful things. Um, and it will affect you on a certain level, but not on a lasting changing level where your neuroplasticity, is that how you say it? Neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
There we go. Neuroplasticity actually changes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that honestly, I think is one of the biggest reasons that people get stuck in something like an I am statement,
Yeah.
and say, oh, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the reason it's not working is because you're not using it right. Right.
Hmm.
Like the I am statement is supposed to be put in as the new belief. You have
Yeah.
to know what the old belief is first in
Yeah.
order to create change. Like this is literally neuroscience. Like this is how our brains work. This is what we understand as far as how the brain works right now. If you have an old program running, in order to do a new program, you have to unwire the old program. You can't put a new program over the top and expect it to be nice and pretty. It's
Yeah.
like taking dog poop and putting chocolate on it. Like you're not going to make it taste better
Well,
because
and
that
that's the
old
thing.
program's still there.
Yeah, and you have to start with baby steps too.
Mhm.
Because like if you get thrown into the deep end on this one, your body's gonna go into fight or flight and you're not gonna have a lot of hope to really change it.
Mhm.
And that's where it's starting slow and having like a little negative thought and changing that. And like for me, like they always say your biggest test is can you go home and stay regulated, you know?
Mhm.
Don't try doing that right off the gate. Like it took me time and I don't even know if I can do it now. Well, we'll see tomorrow.
Mhm.
But like I cannot stay regulated when I go home. I can stay very regulated in very many other places, but I have not mastered that yet. And so start off small because if you start off too big, you're going to be discouraged,
Mhm.
and you have to give yourself that grace
Mhm.
and like kind of take baby steps.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I look at, so I'm in a group of people on TikTok and we talk all the time about what's going on. And some of them are really frustrated with where they currently are with their TikTok journey. And I I know because I have been doing this long enough, this whole online thing long enough that I know that they just have to keep going. But in order to keep going, they've got to change that mindset around it. They've got to find the joy in it. Otherwise, they're just going to burn out. That's truly the number one cause for burnout is
Yeah.
literally not managing your thoughts on a daily basis. If you
Yeah.
want to be burnt out, you and just keep thinking about how little time you have, or keep thinking about how much you have to do. That's the reason for burnout. Not because
Mhm.
you have so much on your plate, but because of how you think and feel about it. That's what's creating your sickness, and that's what's creating the burnout. So, creating a change in the thought of how you feel about your TikTok or how you feel about what's going on in your life or whatever, when you create that thought change and you actually start to believe it, this is important because you can't
Mhm.
just say something that you don't actually believe on some level. So if I'm currently only making $2,000 a year, but I want to be a millionaire, I can't say with 100% belief that I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. I have to start, like, yeah, as you said, with those baby steps to get there. So in order to get to $1 million, I have to start with a $5,000 a month mindset, and then a $10,000 a month mindset, and then a 15, and then a 20. And you continue to build until there's a point where you are like, I can make whatever I want. And I'm getting massive chills because I know in my life, this is exactly what I've done, to the point now that I 100% without fail know that I can make whatever number money I want in my life. And that's because I've spent so much time looking at those pieces of doubt or unbelief in myself and rewired them. I didn't just put an I am a millionaire statement in there because that didn't help me. I tried that, it didn't work. But instead, I went, hold on a second. What's the thought? The thought is, I'm not good enough. Why am I not good enough? Okay, let's go there first. Okay, what if I started thinking when I noticed myself saying I'm not good enough, but wait, look at what I've already done. And did I have
Mhm.
fun? Yeah, I did have fun. And isn't it great that I've already created what I've created in my life? And that creates gratitude, which creates more passion, which creates more bliss, which creates this like snowball effect of, holy shit, how did I end up here? Like, I'm literally in a space right now where I'm like, holy shit, how did I end up here where I am right now? I'm so grateful for all of the challenges because it brought me where I am.
Well, and that's the biggest thing about the importance of gratitude, because you're going to receive what you want in a package that doesn't look like what you thought it would look like. And
Exactly.
not always, but there's going to, like, that's the whole thing that we kind of talked about at the beginning. Sometimes it's bad things happening to you that gives you exactly what you want. So when you
Yeah.
receive that bad thing, it's like, fuck, I don't want this. Like, why are you
Yeah.
giving me this?
Yeah.
And you're trying to give it back. Just be grateful for whatever you can be grateful for, and you'll watch that thing that you got handed that you didn't like turn into exactly what you wanted.
Exactly. Oh, that's a great place to end. And I feel like we could pick up on that and keep talking about this for hours, but we got to call it wraps. So, friends, if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, give us a like, a subscribe. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, go ahead and give us a 5-star and leave us a comment as well. But with that, we're going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. See everyone next time. Thanks so much for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue hanging out with us, and don't forget to subscribe.